Okay, so we were talking about ancient objects. So we're going to be talking about ancient objects, and that just means that they are things that are from the past. And we want to be able to practice our present simple. Okay, so welcome back, Angeli and Eloise. As I said, we're going to be talking about ancient objects. So let's have a look at that. And after, we're going to do a presentation in a group about an ancient object, explaining the history, why was it important, what was it used for, and yeah, so let's have a look at that. So again, we have, you can see here, an ancient object, which is in the museum in Colombia. That's an ancient object. Okay, let's have a look at some vocab first. So we have put your new dress in the wardrobe. What does a wardrobe mean? A wardrobe is a cupboard in a bedroom for clothes. So number 2, 1 is G. This old family photograph reminds me of my grandparents. So the verb to remind, it means that you think of something. So if you say, you know, this ring reminds me of my grandmother, it means that I'm remembering my grandmother. So to remind something of someone. So it makes you remember something. When I was a child, I had a scary teacher. Now, this is an adjective, scary. And scary means that you were afraid of something. So afraid or worried that something bad is going to happen. This painting belonged to my grandfather. So we're looking at some past verbs. So we can see the ED. When something belongs to someone, that means that it is theirs. It means that that was the possession of. It was, they owned it. It was theirs. Okay. So for example, I could say this ring belongs to my grandmother. It means it was hers. Okay. It belonged to someone. And New York is an incredible city. Incredible is an adjective. And incredible means that something is amazing. It's incredible. Okay. It's really great. Incredible. Remember, it's an adjective that we use when we express how we feel. And wow, I love your new dress. So wow is an expression that we say when we are surprised, like something is wow. And that would be F. It's an expression when we use when we are surprised or excited about something. Okay, so we have these 3 objects. We had the dress, the book, and we had that statue. So if you remember, the book, the dress, is number E for question 3. It was when someone said, it's very important to me because it reminds me of my mum. So when something reminds you of someone, we also have, I started to wear it a lot, number C. Okay, that's when we're saying we started to wear something a lot. Number 2, the book. So I could say it was his school book. And it's called Tom Brown's School Days. That was the 2 sentences about the book. And he's very serious and very scary. That was about that statue, Dante. And he has this incredible nose and chin. That was about the statue. So we were talking about some ancient objects. We watched a video, which we're going to watch in a moment again. But I wanted to show you some of these time expressions, which we've always been saying that when we make a past sentence, we're talking about something in the past, we need to say, when did it happen? So you've got expressions like earlier today, yesterday, this morning, this moment, last month, last week, a year ago, a month ago, a week ago, in the year 1955. And as I said before, we use the time expression before the subject and before the past simple action. So, for example, in number 5, you've got some time expressions like 1955. So you could say that in the beginning, you know, in 1955, something happened. Or a time expression like in the 70s. In the 70s, something, something, something. In the 70s, she got married. In the 70s, my parents got married. The day after her wedding. Okay, that's a time expression. It tells you that the day after something happened, then you can say the action. So in 1955, she was born in Moscow. That's a good past sentence. Because remember, we can use a time expression first. So in 1955, that's my time expression. She is the subject. Was, we know that we use the verb was when we talk about where someone was born, what their age was, when they were, what their job was, but in the past. So in 1955, that's our time expression. She, the subject, verb, was born, and then in Moscow. Okay.
I think it's she was born in the Moscow in 19.
Yes.
55.
Yeah. So you can also put the time expression at the end. She was born in Moscow in 1955. Yeah. But we always learn that it's easy just to start to put it in the beginning so that you don't make a mistake with your grammar. But yes, it can go at the end. Yep. In the 70s, so that's a time expression. In the 70s, remember, we know which years are the 70s. That's from 1970 to 1979. So this 10 years period, this decade, is called the 70s. Okay, so you could say my father was born in the 70s, or my mother was born in the 70s. So in the 70s, we have she got married. Okay, so I can see that with this sentence, I've got my time phrase here, and then I've got my subject, she, and the verb is to get married. But in the past, she got married. You could say she got married in the 70s. She got married when she was 21. Okay, whatever. You can say whatever sentence you want, as long as you add the time phrase, when. The day after her wedding, the day after her wedding, she wore the dress. Okay, the day after her wedding is the time expression, subject, she, and the action, she wore the dress. Remember, it comes from the verb to wear. So it comes from this verb, to wear. To wear means we put something on. Maybe we put jewelry or we put clothes, but we wear something. Okay, then we're on question 5. 5, number 4, years later. That's a good time expression. So many, many years later, her daughter found the dress in the wardrobe. So subject, her daughter. The action, found. Found comes from the verb to find. It's an irregular verb. It doesn't have the ed. So her daughter found the dress. Okay. Then we have in the 19th century. So we know this time expression in the 19th century. We can write it like that. So we always put the TH a little bit to the above like that. In the 19th century, that's my time expression, tells me when. In the 19th century, the book was written. Okay, that's the subject. The book was, which comes from the verb to be, was written. That comes from the verb to write. So it's an irregular, written. The book was written. Okay, in the 19th century, the book was written. Then we have in 1901. So that's a time expression. In 1901, her great-grandfather, her great-grandmother's first husband died. Died comes from the verb to die. So remember, if your action word ends in an E, all you do is you just add the D. Okay, that's a good sentence. We can also say with a date on July the 31st. You can even put the year, 1890. Mr. Montgomery gave the book to Charles. So we've got the time expression, which is the date, the month, the day of the month, and the year. And the subject, Mr. Montgomery. And what's the action? He gave the book to, because when you give something to someone, to Charles. When he was a child. Okay, nice time expression. It tells me when he was a child. When he was a child, he visited his grandparents. He visited his grandparents every Sunday. Remember, days of the week, we need to put a capital letter. So subject, verb. This is a regular verb. It comes from the verb to visit. Okay, so to visit, we just add an ED. That's a regular verb. In the 13th and 14th century, so you can write it like this also, in the 13th and 14th century. In the 13th and 14th century, Dante was a writer in Italy. So remember, countries, we always need to capitalize them. And we've got our subject here. So time phrase is before the comma, subject, and then verb. Then we have nowadays. Okay, so my time expression is nowadays. He, subject, lives in the living room. Now, this is a present simple. Okay, it's a present simple, not a past simple. It's a present simple because it's talking about now. What is happening in this moment? We've got the subject, he, and the verb for he, she, it takes the S. So it comes from the verb to live. Like I said, it's a present simple, not a past. So we don't need to put an ED, but because it's he, she, it, we need to say lives because we're talking about now, not yesterday, last night, last year. So again, the rule was that we have the time expression with the subject and then the action. And usually after the time expression, we can put a comma. And it's words like this: earlier today, yesterday, last year, last holiday, when I was a child, when I was 20 years old. Okay, that's your time expression. Okay, so now we are going to get into groups and we're going to do a presentation. Now, a presentation means that I'm going to get into a group and I'm going to speak to a group of people. So I want to show them an ancient object. An ancient object means something that is from many, 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 many years ago. So for example, you can talk about Lucia's skull, or the charcoal iron, or, you know, the old, anything that's old. So how do you do a good presentation? First, you can talk about what it is. So you can say the name, you can introduce, say, hi, I am, you know, Layla, and this is whatever. And we are going to talk about the old iron that you iron your clothes. So I said what it is, which is used to make your clothes nice and soft and to get out the wrinkles. So then you can talk about the history. When was it first made? Where? Which country? And why is it important today? So why do we, what happened today? What do we have now from this old object? Okay, so we're talking about an ancient object. You can see here like the windmill, ancient scrolls. That's how they used to write. This, you know, in the army, they used to use this. Maybe an ancient statue. This one, the bow, an arrow, you know, they used to use that in the ancient times. Maybe like a vase like this. So we are going to get into groups and make a presentation, speak about an ancient object, just one. We're going to give some information about it. Okay, and as I said, you would first say what it is, then you're going to talk about the history, where was it, who made it, where did it come from, which year, and then why is it important today? Okay, so just some examples of some ancient objects. Let's have a look at this group. So Jonathan's group says, hi guys. You can see they put an image here. So hi guys, I'm Jonathan and this is Brian and Jimena. Today, we are going to talk about this sewing machine. It was invented in 1790, which is the 18th century, by Thomas Saint in London. This sewing machine was made to decrease the amount of work time needed in textile or clothing companies. So this made creating clothes from materials faster. Nowadays, new models are used to make all types of clothes to send out to the world. So that's a very good presentation. It's easy language. Don't write it hard like it's from Google. Make it very simple conversation. It's got the history. I know what it is. I know what people used it for, and I know what's happening today. This is an interesting one, Edward. So he says, this is a statue. So again, he could say, hi, everyone, welcome. Today, we are going to talk about this statue representing the Indian Catalina. India Catalina, from 1995 to 1538, was an indigenous person of Mocanas ethnicity from the Colombian Atlantic coast. She was kidnapped by Pedro de Heredia to be an interpreter to speak between the natives and the Spanish invaders. And so she played an important role in the Spanish conquest of Colombia. For us, this is a very important monument, not only because it is an iconic sculpture of Cartagena de Indias, but because it is a symbol of the process of miscegenation and adaptation of Spanish culture by the native communities of the northern Colombians. We have another one here, the old typewriter. Okay, so I'm not going to read it, but you can see what was written. Then we have this one, very interesting, the telegram. How did we used to speak to people before the telephones? So you could see he would say, hi guys, welcome. Today we're going to talk about the telegram, which is a communication device that uses electrical signals to transmit messages over long distances. It was first created in the 19th century to overcome the challenges of long-distance communication. Okay, just really quickly, Juanita talks about this game. This is the Aro game. Okay, really interesting, an old game. That's an ancient object. Sebastian writes about the telegram as well. Okay, so you're going to get into groups and write about ancient objects. So try and pick something interesting. Try and say when, the history, why is it important, and what do we have now? Do we still use it? Is there something modern? Okay, ancient objects. So Fo's group is talking about this ancient object. So, hi, we're Eloise, Fo, and Henry. Good, that's a good introduction. And today we're introducing the gramophone. It was, so it should say here, it was invented. We want to use our past tense. So it was invented by a German named, so now we're going to say his name, by a German. That means by a German man. So we could put man here if we want, or just by a German man named Emil Berliner in 1887. Good, so we know which year. And I might put a full stop. This, or the gramophone, gramophone was used, so good, we've got the verb to be, was used to reproduce recorded sound using a flat disk. A predecessor of, yes, a flat disk. I might just put a full stop. Now we have a record player. Okay, I might leave that sentence to the end because you're still giving the history. The machine was made of a wax cylinder. Good. So it's telling us what it was made of. That rotated and a needle that scratched the record, thus allowing music from the time to be played. An interesting fact is that the disc rotated 90 times per minute. Good. I might take this sentence here because that's telling us about now. So now you are familiar with the record player. So now you are familiar with the history of where the record player came from. Okay, interesting. So now we use the record player, but this is where the history of it was. So really good. I'll send this to you, Eloise. And I like the introduction. Hi, we're Eloise, Fo, and Henry. So really good teamwork there. Thanks for sending that. So good job, Henry, Fo, and Eloise. Okay, Javier's good. So, hi guys, good. I like that it's casual. Hi guys, we are Yaneth and Javiera. I love the Spanish. I know. When I used to learn Italian, sometimes I put English. Yeah. So we are Yaneth and Javiera, and so you still need a subject, and we will tell you about the typewriter. So you don't need a capital for the, and we'll tell you about the typewriter. Born is only for something that's alive, which was invented. So with an object, it's not born, only like people or animals, but invented, which was made, if you want, which was, I might put made, okay, which was made in 1868 from the mind of Christopher Lathan Solers. Full stop. Okay, so each sentence should have a piece of information, one information. So the next sentence, this machine revolutionized. So again, we want to use simple English. Changed just means changed the way the world communicated. See, good simple sentence. Although computers dominated in recent centuries. The typewriter, I might put the name of it. There was no name, no. So the typewriter remains a symbol of a bygone era. Yeah, that means of a time in the distant past. I might again put it in simple English. So the typewriter remains a symbol of a time long ago, of a distant time. Maybe I'll say that, of a distant time, reminding us, good, I like how you're bringing today, reminding us of the art and simplicity of mechanical writing, as it was one of the first means, as it was one of the first ways, just to give you a simple, as it was one of the first ways that helped communication through letters, that helped people communicate. Okay, good, really good. I love that you guys did it well. Did we also have Angeli? So really quickly, we have this old telephone. Good. Okay, Angeli's group says, hello everyone. We are Angeli and Mia. Today we are talking about the telephone. It is a communication device that lets you talk to others using electric or digital signals. It all started in the mid-1800s. Good, we know when Alexander Graham Bell began the first telephone in 1876. Since then, it has changed a lot. Good, nice simple sentence. It went from phones with wires to wireless ones, and now we have smartphones. Good, we have mobile phones. These smartphones can do a lot more than just calls. They can send messages, emails, browse the internet, take photos, and more. Nowadays, phones are essential tools for both personal and professional communication, as well as for addressing various services and entertainment. Perfect. Really good, because you guys gave a really good presentation. It was very simple. It was introducing yourselves, talking about the history and why it's important, which year, who made it. So really good. Okay, so next time when we come back for the next lesson, we are going to be talking about the grammar that we have learned for the past simple. So remember, we use the past simple when we talk about actions or events or experiences that happened, not now, but sometime in the past, maybe yesterday, last night, last year. What did we do? Okay, so remember, we know how to ask, how was your evening? How was your job? How was your work? How was your course? How was your test? And we also know how to give our feelings about something. So it was fantastic. It was great. It was amazing. Okay, so we're going to look at the grammar of the past simple in the next lesson. Okay, so see you tomorrow for that. So see you. Bye, Eloise, Angeli, and Yana.
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
Welcome. See you tomorrow.